Hi, this is PD at BurgZerg Arcade at BurgZergArcade.com, and this is tutorial 142. Now, so far the way we have our game set up, we basically have two scenes. We have a character generation scene and the scene that we're actually going to be playing our game in. I want to go ahead and start creating the main menu, and the function of the main menu is when the game first loads up, this is going to be the first scene that it loads, and I want to check to see if we actually have a character generated or not. And if we don't have a character generated, automatically send them over to the character generation screen. And if we do have a character loaded up, let's take a look and give them the option to either load that character into the game or delete that character and make a new one. So let's go ahead and open up Unity. We'll start there first. And I'm going to come down to my scenes folder, and I'm just going to create a new scene. Actually, we'll do that up here. New scene. And I'll just save it, and I'll save it in my scenes folder, and I'm going to call this main menu. And I'm going to go to my build settings now, and I'm going to add the current level. And it's at the bottom. It's not what we want. We want it to be the first scene. And I can never seem to get it to drag all the way to the top, but I'll just drag it to the second one and drag the second one down. Now, I'm going to be streaming these things. So I'm going to make sure my streamed is checked, and I believe this is available to even the indie users or the Unity free users. And the way I'm going to order this is my main menu, which is going to be the lightest. There's going to be very few resources that are loaded during the main menu. And then my character generation scene, which is going to be the next smallest scene. And then after that, all the different scenes for gameplay. And level 1 is actually it's going to be my tutorial level. So this is the one where I'm actually going to be using my resources.load for. So what I'm going to do is come over to player settings now and make sure you're on the web tab. And if we come down here for the streaming, it says first streamed level. Now this is the first level you want to stream with the resources. And let me just open my build settings again. And if we notice, since this is the first one that's actually going to use the resources.load, it's number 2. So I'm just going to come over here and make sure it's a 2. And that should be pretty much it that we need to set up for streaming. Of course, since this is going to be a web player, I want to make sure that I have the little Unity icon beside the web player option. And if it's beside your PC or Mac standalone, just select the web player and hit switch platform. Now, it might take a little while to re-import everything, but if you want to build one that's a streaming web player, this is how you do it. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. I know I've got everything added to that. And I'm going to come over to my scripts now. So we're on the scripts, and I'm going to create a new script. I'm going to make sure it's C#. And I'm going to call this script main menu. And then I'll open that up in MonoDevelop. And right at the very top, I'm just going to quickly make some comments on what exactly it is I want this script to do. So the first thing I want it to do is just check to see if we have some saved data in the player prefs. Now there's going to be a new variable that I'm going to be adding to the player prefs, and that new variable is going to be a version number, so we can start keeping track of the character save data, basically what version it is. So as we upgrade our game, we might be adding new things that need the player data updated, and this is an easy way to keep track of it. So I'm going to check the version of the save data. If the saved version of the data is not the current version, we'll want to do something. And of course, it's going to depend on what we added from the last version to the current version. There just might be a few new skills or the way the data is loaded or saved. Basically, the do something is going to really depend on what we're doing. Now, I'm not planning on doing anything with this yet, but I know it's something down the road that we'll probably run into. So I am going to add that little piece of functionality. So if the version of the saved data is the current version, we'll want to do something. So we'll say else, or we'll just say else because that's how we're going to be programming it. If the data, if the saved version is the current version, check to see if they have a character saved. And for now, I'm just going to be checking the character name. Ideally, you'd probably want to go through and check all the values, but just to keep it short and simple, we're just going to check for the actual, see if they have character name saved. If they do not have a character saved, load the character generation scene. Else, if they do have a character saved, let them decide to load that character. Actually, I'm going to go down to another line for this. If they want to load the character, load the character and go to level 1. If they want to delete the character, delete the character and go to the character generation. Alright, so that's basically what we want this script to do for now. So the first thing I'm going to do is check to see if they have the version, a key in their player prefs for the version. So I'm going to want to define some sort of version right off the bat. So let's just say, well, I'm going to make it a constant and I'm going to make it public. I'll probably end up moving this to game settings later, but for now I'll just keep it all in one script so it's a little bit easier to see everything all at once. And I'm going to make mine a float. Maybe. And I'm just going to call it version. And I'm just going to start off at 0.1. And don't forget the F for float. And I'm going to go down to my start function. Now the start function is where I'm actually, well, going to start checking. And the first thing I want to check is to see if I have, and AutoSense won't work today. So player prefs dot has key. Is it capital? I'm pretty sure it's capital. And the key we're going to be looking for, I'm going to call it ver for version. That's not supposed to be a semicolon, it's supposed to be a bracket. And let me just see something here. Since my IntelliSense isn't quite working right, I'm just going to quickly reboot my MonoDevelop. So I'm just going to pause the video. Alright, so if we check the player prefs and they have a key called version, then we want to check that version. But first I'm going to debug or send out a debug log just so I can follow the flow of what's going on. There is a ver key. And now I'm going to want to check that version. So if player pref dot get, and it's going to be get float, and we just want a string of the key that we're trying to get, which is ver, and we're going to say if it's equal to version. Actually, let's say if it's not equal to version, because if it's not equal to version, there we go, one too many up here. I'll just simply debug.log, and we'll just say version or saved version is not the same as current version. But if it is the same, we're going to make an else statement down here. And I'm going to put a little comment. Well, I guess we'll just do it in debug again. And we'll just say saved version is the same as the current version. If we look up here, so if it's the same version, we want to give them two options. Oh, sorry, it's up here. If it's the same version, we're going to check to see if they actually have a saved character by checking for the name. So we're going to first see if that key exists for the player name, and then we're also going to check to see if there's something in that key. So we'll just come down here and say if player prefs dot has key, and I don't recall what I called the player. Oh, it was player name. That's right. And I forgot a bracket up there. And we'll debug log out the, so we know where we are. There is a player name tag. And then we'll check the tag just to make sure that it's not empty. And we'll want to get the value, so it's a string. And the string we want to get is player name. And we'll just check to make sure that it does not equal, well, in this case we're going to check to see if it does equal nothing. And of course we'll debug log out here too. The player name key does not have anything in it. And we'll need an else statement here, because if it does have something in it, we're just going to assume that they actually have a whole character. So debug.log, the player name key has a value. Now if they have a player name, here's where we'll give them the two options of either loading their character up and going to the new scene, or deleting the character and getting a new one. So I'm going to want to put some flag in here. But for now, I'm just going to put a little bar in there with a bunch of comment. Well, it's basically a comment bar, just so I know that I'm supposed to do something here. And I'm probably going to want to set some flag. So down in the on GUI, I can pop two buttons up that has either load character or delete character. But we haven't made on GUI yet, and I just want to finish off our little, well, basically the structure up here. So we checked here, see if they had a player name. So we'll want to come down here and we'll make an else block down here. And this is if they don't have a player name. Or a player name key, I should say. There is no, oh, I forgot my capital, player name key. And of course we'll want to do something here. Well, we're going to want to do something in all of them. So there's really no point in putting the bar there. And then I'll come up to, let me see, we've already got the else there, and the if goes to this else and here. So we're checking to see if they have the version. So if they don't have the version key, looks like there's one more we got to do. There is no ver key. Alright, so that should be pretty much everything. We've got the structure built up. Let's just go attach it to our script and make sure there's no actual typos in it. So I'm going to come back into Unity. I'm going to take this main menu script since there was no errors. And I'm just going to drag it onto my main camera. I can't add the script because I haven't renamed it. So it's called main menu. I'll let it recompile again. I'll take that and try one more time. Main camera. Still can't add the script. So main menu. There we go. No menu for me. And third time's a charm, right? So I'm actually just going to select my camera this time and I'm going to drag it on this way. There we go. I'm just going to do one quick fire up just to see if there's any errors that pop up. And the first thing it does, it checks, it says there's no version key. And there shouldn't be because we haven't actually added that yet. But this video has already gotten long, so I'm going to call this one done and I'll pick up in the next video. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.